Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. This is Janet with Cape Breton Originals, and we are here continuing. This is part 2 of our opioid epidemic and toxic drug crisis in Canada. I am here with my co-host, Tina. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Tonight, we are shining the light on mental health and addiction issues. We are telling the truth about what's actually going on in our country. If you have a story, if you have a comment, please feel free to put in the comments section of the show. Let us know. We'll get your voices heard. And really, this is an opportunity for all of us to take our collective intelligence and talk about the things that are happening directly in our lives so that the politicians, the leaders, they start listening. Because as we all know, people are not listening. And the only way we're going to get our voices heard is to be strong, to be united, to create a massive movement across the country. That's what Guardians of Recovery is all about. So glad to have you with us this evening. It's going to be a super hot, interesting conversation. We're going to rip some of these, I don't know what even government rhetoric, I guess, about mental health and addictions. We're going to rip that apart and tell the truth.
Yeah. So without further ado, I will get the video up here. It's a video from Parliament. So this is a federal Parliament meeting. They had a video on it, and there's some good points, but like always, there's a lot that needs to be heard here, and much controversy as well. So we'll take off from where we were last night, and we will stop at any points where people want to talk. And
we welcome the opportunity to inform your important study and are prepared to respond to any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. X. We're going to begin right away with rounds of questions, beginning with the Conservatives. Dr. Ellis, for 6 minutes, please.
I like Dr. Ellis.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for getting to this very, very important study. Obviously, we know the statistics. Canadians know the number of people dying. 1,900 people have died, of course, thus far in 2023. Ms. Sachs, maybe you could tell listeners out there, what is the leading cause of death in BC in 10 to 18-year-olds?
10 to 59-year-olds in BC overdose deaths from opioids is the leading cause of death.
What about 10 to 18-year-olds specifically?
I believe that the leading cause of death for the 10 to 18-year age group is also overdose death.
Now I got to stop that right there, because that makes the hair on my arm stand on edge, and just I can barely hold the tears back. Can you imagine having a 10-year-old die of an overdose? That to me, it blows my mind. I can't even fathom how 10-year-olds, because how does a 10-year-old know about these things unless they're being looked at in a society where it's looked at as normal? It's not normal. I could flip out just thinking about a 10-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
What is wrong with people?
And on top of that, Janet, just hold that for a second. Like we are reacting in this society and culture like drugs are okay. People are using it in the streets, concerts. People are, it's like mainstream. It's cool to do coke. But it's not like drinking alcohol where you have a drink and you're not going to die from that drink. But this drug era, you could be doing a drug that you think is okay, and it could be coke, for example, and spike it with fentanyl, and you're gone one time. And that's what's happening to our kids. It's decimating our kids. Anything with the side effect death should not be allowed in our country. So who's letting this happen? We are in the midst of an absolute war here, a crisis. And our government is not paying attention to this at the level that needs to be. There's all this like gobbledygook government speak rhetoric stuff that just sounds like bog water to me. What I want to know is today, the 1,900 people that he just spoke about, how are we going to stop this so it doesn't happen tomorrow? Like, it's ridiculous.
Last night here in Sydney, Cape Breton, there was an Ice Cube concert. At the Ice Cube concert, on the the scanners, all the Facebook sites, there was people complaining about fist, people using meth, people just, openly smoking crack on the floor. They're in the midst of people. People brought their children there, and this is going on like it's just normal. There was so much of it going on. Security couldn't keep up. Can you imagine? Here in Sydney, Cape Breton, security couldn't keep up with the people smoking crack and meth and weed on the floor in the open building in the concert. I couldn't believe it. It sickened me.
Yeah, it's definitely off the charts. And people are so out of their minds and out of control. Like it's just high speed car chases, people beating each other up. Like it's insane what's going on. Like this has to stop. And we have a comment here. I hope the government starts listening, especially when it's time for us to vote. Absolutely. Like we are in this tragedy because the current leadership refuses to listen and refuses to act accordingly. So people have to make sure that when it's time to vote, you don't vote for this outcome. Like, because if we do, that's on us. If we continue to have the political system and leaders in place that are currently there, that have had us build up to this tragedy over the last 8-9 years and continue to vote, then it's your own fault that 10-year-olds are overdosing.
It's true. If we're not the ones who start making change and standing up and standing out against this insanity, when will it end? Because this epidemic is not going to get any better if we just sit back and let it happen. We have to be the change. We have to be the change, because whatever's going on and everybody that's using these drugs, they're not thinking right, and they're turning society into something none of us want to live in. Okay, so let's carry on with the video, because I can get down that rabbit hole all day.
Yeah, it's a very sad state of affairs. I guess I have a bit of a rhetorical question, but we'll get to that. What's it going to take to stop this experiment, the safer supply, whatever euphemism we're going to use? There's a
Can we
recent.
just stop there for a second, Janet? Like the safe supply experiment in BC. Like, since when was it okay to use human beings in an experiment? We've never ever done it before with other drugs. Like, people are not an experiment to be used in an experiment to die. Like what's happening in BC, where all of this is experimental. Like, I don't want the citizens of Canada to be an experiment. Do you?
No. And this is the doctor, in case anybody's missed that. This member of parliament here is a doctor, okay, in Nova Scotia, in Colchester, Nova Scotia. So this doctor is against the opioid experiments. So let's listen to more to what he has to say. I love him.
Article came out, I think, on Friday, of a person with lived experience talked about being at the Leslieville, the South Riverdale site, speaking about safe supply. Are you aware of that article?
I'm not aware of the specific article. I would need more details, but I know that there have been a number of articles about safer supply as well as supervised consumption sites in recent days.
This article specifically talks about safer supply, talks about a few other things, but is the government of Canada aware that the so-called safer supply is ending up in the hands of folks who previously have not used opioids?
What the government is doing right now is undertaking and investing in a suite of services.
Hey, stop that right there. What she's doing right there is bogwash rhetoric. She's formulating sentences that are not substantiated in actual, tangible facts, figures, quantifiable information. And this whole thing about we are creating these infrastructures supporting all kinds of people. If that's the case, then why is everybody dying? Like, this is such BS. I can't believe that we as taxpayers are allowing people to communicate. Our leadership is being given permission to communicate with us like that, like to talk in grand generalities. Grand generalities are exactly why we are where we are.
Well, here's what bothers me, Tina, about this woman. She is the lead of the Department of Health for our country. She is.
I'm-
This woman who seems like a deer in the headlights that hasn't got a clue of what she's being asked, and she's sitting there. She can't even speak because she doesn't know what she's saying. She can't come up with bullshit fast enough. Anyhow, we'll get back to listen to what this woman has to not say. You ready?
I'm not impressed with her. That's for
Education, harm reduction.
I'm
treatment,
sorry, maybe you
recovery.
misheard me. I'll interrupt you. I apologize for that. But are you aware that the so-called safer supply is ending up in the hands of folks who've never used opioids before? I didn't ask what the government was doing. I asked a very, very specific question. Thank you.
Yeah,
Love him.
exactly.
So I think the government is aware that there are a range of views regarding prescribed
Where does
pharmaceutical
it get?
alternatives.
Government
that
is
are being
aware
used.
that it's unbelievable.
She hasn't got a clue as to how to answer truthfully because she knows that if she did, it would be an outrage to the people because of what they do know. What they do know, they're not going to say. They're just
Yeah.
waiting to hope that more people die every day. That's their wish. So let's listen to what this twat waffles, the nicest thing I could say about her.
Used for harm reduction and treatment purposes for individuals who use substances. We are listening to those. I think we are listening to concerns as well, taking those very seriously. There are a number
No,
of
they
actions that
aren't
we are
listening
taking.
to
Okay,
concerns. That's the thing. They aren't listening to our concerns. If they were listening to our concerns, we wouldn't be sitting here in the crisis we are. The people with lived experience, the parents, the families, the people with addiction, they are not listening. That's the whole point. She's lying. I
She is-
have 7 years of experience going through Ben's illness to the point to 7 years that led to his death. And through those 7 years, there's no people listening. The people weren't listening to me. They put him out on the streets. He had to fend for himself. He lived in drug den shelters where people stole from him. There's rape, suicides, murders, like the most horrific circumstances. Doctors didn't listen. People, I couldn't get him into the hospital. Nobody's listening. And I get 2 to 3 calls every single day from parents who are in the exact same situation I was, who are dealing with kids on death's door, and there's no way this government is listening.
And I agree. And we've got another comment. That's all we ever hear is they're listening to our concerns. Well, you know what? Stop listening and start doing something. How about that, government? Let's call you to order to actually do something. I don't want you to listen anymore. I want you to do. It's time to actually do. You've heard enough from us. We've had enough deaths. It's time to change this road that we're on. We have to, because I'm not willing to have another family go through what you went through, Tina, or what I went through. And I'm mad. And everybody else, if you are alive and you have family, you should be bloody well mad too at anybody who is pushing safe supply, because it's not.
Thank
Yeah.
you for that. I'll interrupt you there. We have a convention here that you'll answer in length of my question. So thank you. Is the government aware that the price on the street of a 8 milligram tablet of hydromorphone has gone from approximately $20 a pill to $2 a pill?
Again, I would repeat that we understand that there are a range of views and
Oh my
perspectives
God.
and
She
reports in
is
terms of prescribed
actually
pharmaceutical alternatives.
sickening. The fact that they're using hydromorphone in these safe supplies and they cost $2 on the street to purchase, and people who never used drugs and opioids and all that in the past at all, even our 10-year-olds that are dying from illicit drugs, like she needs to talk the truth about what's going on. She needs to actually use the words of what's happening. And she just infuriates me. I don't know if I can listen to this chick anymore.
Right? She's infuriating me too. I almost want to give her one of these safe supply pills just to let her know how safe it is. See how she thinks it.
What about her 10-year-old taking a safe supply? Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's so infuriating. Oh my God.
Right? It is.
And-
It makes my blood boil. So we got another great comment here. Doctors started a lot of this crisis and took the payment from big pharma for profits, and they don't listen or care. And that is another part of the problem. We got to stop making money off of, one group makes money while another group, the majority, suffers. How is this normal or right? You don't make profit off of making people sick. And if we're looking at this and we know better, well, it's on us as voters to make these changes when it comes time. Now, Pierre Poilievre is saying that he's going to stop this safe supply and he's going to stop all this. And honestly, it's the only reason I hate all the parties. I'm not going to lie. I would rather vote for an independent all day long because I'm not a party supporter of any of them. But when it comes to making a decision and voting next in Canada, we only have two choices. It's the one that's in now, True Dope, I like to call him, because he's true for dope, or Pierre Poilievre. I have to go with Poilievre because there's not enough independent force across Canada to make a difference in the voting, in to dent in numbers. And I'm a math person, and I have to vote where the numbers are going to go. And if anybody else wants this opioid crisis to end, that's going to be the only way we can do it right now. We've got a couple more comments. Go on. You read them.
Let's hear these comments. A lot of people want help and they can't afford private treatment, and the wait lists of government funded is very long process. How is this so? I spoke to 2 mothers today trying to get their kids into treatment and can't because of wait. Like, we're spending millions and millions of dollars on safe supply and we can't even get our kids into detox. That is absolutely disgraceful. All of those funds on the experiment and all the safe supplies for needles and everything, get people into rehab and detox first.
Yes.
Priorities. So Facebook user, thank you for that. And if this was a bunch of dementia patients, they would have created homes for them months ago. But here we are, amazing people with hearts of gold dying and suffering daily. Precisely. And another person, Tracy, says, I wrote many members concerning my daughter, and all I ever heard was that they are sorry and we hear your concerns. That's what I went through with Ben. 7 years of that sickening, echoing in my brain to this day. I'm actually mad at myself that I did not have this show 7 years ago. My son could possibly be alive if I had spoken up at that point in time. And most parents won't speak up because I was so busy trying to save Ben that if I spoke up, he would separate himself from me. And that's the last thing I wanted to do. I needed to keep him alive for what good it did. All roads lead to drug use in this country instead of recovery. We've got our priorities so screwed up.
We do. And we're brainwashing our society into thinking that this is acceptable and normal. It's not acceptable, and it's certainly not normal. Having your family members dying and going through hell is not normal. It's not normal. Bang your head. Like, seriously, that's not normal. And if you've got anybody in your life or circle that it's telling you it's normal, then get them out of your life, because they are brainwashed and they're either making money off it or they're
addicted.
Yeah, it's one or the other. They're part of the problem or they're in the problem. They're not part of the solution. And if they're not part of the solution, they need to go, because that's the problem. Them.
Yeah.
Look at this. My son committed drug crime, all because no rehab available after detox. Now at the HMP, should have gotten into rehab, not jail. That's right. Again.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yes. You don't give cancer patients injections of cancer cells. Yes. Our lives have been normal for years. Exactly. And grandparents now, their kids, they're raising their grandchildren because their kids are addicted on the streets. That is so wrong on so many levels. Like grandparents raising kids because kids the next generation is obliterated.
Right. I am one of these grandparents raising my grandchild because of drugs. Not only have I lost my brother, I have taken on the role of being my caregiver to my grandchild because of what drugs has done to her parents. And it's not fair. It's not fair for her to grow up and see what's going on to her dad, to see what's going on and why she can't be with her mom. This is why I fight. I have many reasons why. We'll keep going because, like I said, I can easily fall down this hole that makes me so angry.
Absolutely tragic.
We are taking concerns that are being raised seriously. We are looking into those. We are taking a number of actions.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to be very kind here, but
I love him.
I'm asking very specific questions to which you're really not answering.
Exactly.
Is the government aware, your department aware, that the on the street price for 8 milligram tablets of hydromorphone has gone from $20 to about $2 a tablet.
We are aware that there are reported concerns with diversion of prescribed pharmaceutical alternatives, including
Oh my God.
Other-
I can't even understand the words she is saying.
I
Like,
know.
she is picking out, does she understand that people do not understand her?
She
Like-
sounds like a bot to me. She just, we understand that we've listened. What? How have you? What have you understood? Nothing.
Yeah, it's like the whole setup of the language is meant to divert your attention as if you're not still sitting here with a dead child. Like that level of response is absolutely insulting to the citizens of Canada.
It is. It is. She needs to be fired because she doesn't hear anything. And her concerns, I'm concerned about her level of concern, to be honest with you. I'm very concerned over this particular woman who should not have the job as the head of the health of Canada. Imagine.
That's not where I want my tax money to go, to her
Exactly.
salary.
Right?
It's- yeah.
She needs to go. Let's listen to more of this twat waffle.
result of the price of that.
Is the
related to
government aware
price.
that these tablets of hydromorphone 8 milligrams, which is equivalent of about 30 tablets of Tylenol 3, is actually being used in high schools around this country?
I think the government is aware that the use of illegal drugs is absolutely of concern for youth across the country.
Is she sounding like a broken record to everybody else? Like, it's the same words, just fragmented in different ways to form the same sentences. She doesn't know
Yeah.
anything.
There's no like tangible accountability. There's nothing that you can actually seek your there. This conversation gives people and families no hope at all.
None.
And if the government is trying to instill a sense of trust and hope in our future, they are failing. And speaking of failing, we just got a huge big fat F in Canada for our recovery programs and our ability to access care. So we are at an F, not to mention the fact that we just got labeled with the highest users of cannabis in the world. So, like,
No.
what are we creating here? What are we creating?
A junkie's paradise is what we're making, and we're not far off.
That is
Yeah.
why we're investing in prevention and education in a suite of services and supports.
Once again, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm trying to be kind, but you really, it seems to be being purposefully avoiding answers to my questions.
Yes.
Is the government aware that the so-called safe supply is actually being used in high schools in Canada?
We are aware that there are people who are concerned that there is diversion of prescribed safer supply.
So I guess if you're aware that there people are being concerned if you are aware that people are concerned this is happening, then wouldn't that mean that you're aware that it's happening?
Now, wouldn't that
Exactly.
mean? Yeah. Do you see why I like this guy? Because he's holding her to her words. So we got a couple of more comments here, Tina, if you want to hit them up.
Yeah, she doesn't care. Wow. What about if that was your son or daughter? Jennifer Sachs, get with the program. Like, truly, that is the head of our health system in Canada. Like, and this
Mhm.
this another comment here. I'm not a proud Canadian anymore. I agree with
Mhm.
that.
Yep.
And Canada is not a safe place. You can go down one street and get attacked by people who are extremely, extremely addicted. Random attacks happening in our streets. People, like
Mhm.
car chases gone crazy, driving through, drugstores. Like, it's nuts what the hell is going on. People are completely out of their minds. And then we're not treating the addiction, then we're throwing them in jail. Like, get a grip. Get
Yes.
a grip.
They need to get something. They got to get with a new program because this program is the program to death, and quick too. So I love this Stephen Ellis. I'm so glad Dr. Stephen Ellis went into politics because it's about time we've got somebody who sounds like they care and they know what's going on. So let's hear him again.
We
Yeah.
are taking reports of diversion seriously. There are a number of actions that we are taking. We are committed to taking those actions. That includes working with Safer Supply Products to understand the risk mitigation measures they are taking, including patient screening, including urine drug checking, screening, including working with healthcare providers and patients to ensure that risk mitigation measures are in place to
Did she really say that?
Yes. Like when Ben was in a shelter, okay, the last shelter he was in when he died, the staff, make no wonder we don't have staff. Their
Yep.
hands are bound, right?
Mhm.
Underneath the privacy law. So they could never reach out to me and say, hey, your son's in trouble. He needs your help. He needs you to intervene. So imagine day in, day out dealing with people who are addicted. Their loved ones are not allowed in the circle of care. They can't get any help. They're watching. How would you like a job where you watched avoidable deaths happen to our youth every single day? Make no wonder we don't have people in detox. No wonder we don't have people in rehab that are, powerful people, because what's the success rate? Who wants to be working at a jail, at a jail? Yes, like a jail. Who
Mhm.
wants to be working at a rehab or a center or a shelter where people are constantly dying avoidably and your hands are tied? You can't do anything but, like, I can't think of a job that would be more uh, sad, more demeaning, more
Yes.
like I would feel like I was in prison in that system if I couldn't. If all these people here, addiction counselors and everything, are supposed to be helping these people, and they're fighting against the system, which is going against them like it's a
Mhm.
no-win situation. We have set our healthcare professionals up in a no-win situation. Who the heck
But
is
the
going to continue with that?
It's true. So we've got a few more comments. Facebook user me either hope I'm actually embarrassed to be a Canadian right now. And then it's no longer safe and it breaks my heart. You're right. Canada is becoming an extremely dangerous country, unpredictable people roaming the streets at all hours of the night and constantly on God knows what. It is a scary time to be in Canada. And we need to change that so that our kids can grow up and be, healthy mentally and not have to worry about addiction and them dying at 10.
And
Seriously.
it
Thank you,
doesn't
Dr. Ellis.
have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. I remember living in New York. My father worked for the United Nations, and it was so, so dangerous in New York at the time. And Mayor Giuliani said, we're not tolerating this anymore. He put a street cup on every corner. He said, we are abolishing this level of crime, because you'd walk down the street and get mugged. And he just said, we're not tolerating this anymore. That's the kind of leadership we need in this country right now, is for someone to take this over and say,
Right.
I am responsible for my citizens of Canada, and I'm not tolerating this as leader of the country. And all the ministers who are with me on this are going to follow suit. All municipalities, everybody on the same page. Society, where all roads lead to recovery, clean this mess up. Like,
Yeah.
there is no integrity whatsoever in her words, and lack of
None.
accountability, and the outcome and results that we currently have in the country.
She may as well have a string on the back of her repeating the same thing on repeat. So we got a couple more comments here. Tracy Spencer says, my daughter will be out of federal in just a few months. She's in recovery and healthy, and I feel coming out into this drug infested society is not fair to her after all this work she's put into her rehabilitation and her recovery and her behavior. It's not fair, and I'm so mad, and I want this drug epidemic taken seriously. You are so right, Tracy, and that's the problem with when they do come out of, for instance, jail or rehab or detox or any of these programs that we're putting them in. Once you're around what you can't be around, well, it triggers you. What are we going to, we're going to just let everybody go out with a gun? Because they may as well be going out with guns and just shooting randomly, because allowing people to smoke crack, meth.
That's already happening. Like, our Christmas parade in St. John's got canceled because we had a shootout on the Christmas Day parade. And that was not enough for our leadership to stop and say, what the hell? Like, this is now impacting the public. I heard like a few things about it on the news, more about it on social media. Everything was cut hush hush. Okay, no big deal. We'll just do it next week. And like,
Wow.
we're not addressing the problem. Imagine, just wait till we hit critical mass and it hits our tourism industry. One of the greatest things we have going for us in Newfoundland and across Canada is our beautiful, beautiful country. And
Yep.
it's spectacular, an experience like no other. And we're going to
Mhm.
have people shooting each other and like with these random, you know, like shootouts in the bar scene and in the downtown scene and in our cities. People are nuts when they're on crack cocaine. That's the
Yep.
era of throwing babies out the window and stuff. People
Yes.
do not know what they're doing in that
Right.
with that drug. And you add fentanyl and carfentanil and everything on top of that, which is way more addictive and way stronger. People are obliterated. Like,
Mhm.
pay attention. Pay attention. The leaders of Canada, pay attention.
Well, I'll tell you why. Tracy, you got a good comment here, and I'll also, Tina. Why aren't more community mayors speaking out? It sickens me because they're friends with the organizations that are running these programs. They're buddies, okay? And it's a big corruption scandal for money. The money goes to the programs to keep the people employed, to keep the money funneling to the corrupt programs that are running these safe injection sites, that are, supposedly housing all the people that are going into the safe injection sites. There is such a huge pile of money that's being thrown around by the government, and there's little vacuum organizations out there. They're sucking that money in, and they don't care who it hurts, how many people die, as long as they get them dollars.
God help the people who are working in the organizations that are enabling and exacerbating the drug crisis, because you got to live with that on your conscience for the rest of your life. And
Yep.
it's in these drug den shelters and stuff where those people purposely look away. They are actually the real problem, because we are the people and we have the ability to say yes or no. And it's the leaders of the people who are literally towing the party line and allowing this to occur that are the actual problem. Our citizens that are taking a paycheck instead of doing what's morally and ethically right.
Exactly. Right. I mean, you're selling your soul to the devil to do that work, in my mind. Okay. So we got another Facebook user here. Yeah. Barbie doll, pull her string. She only has so many phrases. I'm so sorry. Nobody deserves to suffer this way, and they don't. How are we supposed to be safe when nothing is done to help our addicted citizens? If they got help, there wouldn't be none of this. Our province has gone to hell. Someone got murdered the other day. Like, my God, that poor family. All right. So we're going to listen to more of this and see how much more of this woman we can actually stand.
Reduce any diversion. We are looking at evaluations and studies, and I'm happy to turn it over to my colleague at CIHR for further information in terms of some of the evaluation that we are doing on
Thank you.
prescribed
Thank you for that.
pharmaceuticals.
When the opioid experiment began, and I'm using the words of my colleague, Dr. Hanley, which was in the text of this motion, what was the original null hypothesis that the government put forward for the experiment?
Could you repeat the question at the beginning?
Yes. What was the original null hypothesis generated for this experiment? We all know it was an experiment. It's never been done before. So in an experiment, you really have an idea of what you want to disprove. So what was it? Or was this just something on the back of a napkin, I guess is the question.
I apologize. I think you'll have to just
Does not compute. My string don't know what you say.
clarify for me what you're referring to by this experiment.
Yeah.
Well, it's in the text of the motion that we're debating here today, that this is a drug experiment. So what was the plan?
The government,
So, sorry, was there a plan?
there is a plan. There's a very clear plan that the minister announced on October 30th, which really directs where the government is going, which is the renewed Canadian Drugs and Substances
Sorry,
strategy.
Can you believe where she's going with this yammering road of nonsense? How is she the one who's speaking for Health Canada? She seems like she just got hired yesterday.
I don't know, but I feel that her representing me as a Canadian citizen is a disgrace to our country. Simple as
Absolutely. It's a disgrace. Yeah. Let's keep hearing what Twat Waffle has to say.
Yeah, I'm just going to interrupt you because you said October 30th. I mean,
That's your time, Doctor. I'm sorry.
Oh, of course they cut him off.
Dr. Hanley, please, for 6 minutes.
that. Okay, his time's up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And
He's
before I ask questions, I wanted to provide some opening remarks, given that this is a study to which I initiated with the motion passed by committee earlier this
Right.
year.
Totally.
Mr. Chair, we have 8 meetings, I believe, most of which will be taking place after the new year in 2024. And we know that 2023 will be another tragic year for Canadians. In 2022, we saw 7,328 deaths. The current death rate is estimated to be 21 Canadians dying daily. It's kind of
Just
shocking, isn't it, that we can
let's stop there for a second. So we know that there's 21 Canadians dying every single day. So tomorrow there's going to be another 21 kids like Ben, like your brother, like family members that we're all going to have to go through this. Like, there's no reason in the world why we should allow this to occur for one more day. These are preventable deaths, preventable.
Yes.
Like,
And
it
they know
doesn't
this.
it doesn't make sense. And then on top of that, there's another 23 people a day, something like that, that are overdosing and ending up in hospital. So what do we have? Like between
Almost
40 and 50 people a day overdosing and dying in the country. That's our brothers and sisters. That's in our immediate family. That's every single day. Like, I can't in good conscience not focus on this as a top priority above all. Like, I was talking to my politicians and I said, how do you guys sleep at night? How do you sleep at night knowing that on your watch, there's going to be 2 more overdoses tomorrow, more people dying tomorrow? How do you do that without saying, everything right now has to come to a halt, and this is the top priority in the country? Like, how
Right.
can you turn your back away from that? Where is the justification in your mind that says, I'm not going to pay attention to this right now? What the heck is going on?
So Maya Kim says, when politicians' children start dying, maybe they'll wake up. Well, we can't wait for that day to happen. I know that what you're saying, and I know that that's what it's going to take, but we need to get fools like this Jennifer Sachs out of positions, because she has no clue of what's going on from Tuesday to Saturday. None. She's a twat waffle, a dimwit. Next comment. And going up all the time. Yeah, like, it's never going to end. The rate is constantly on the daily. It's increasing. The
Like,
rate at which people are
our
becoming addicted.
Yeah. Like, our federal minister of health should be able to speak language first and foremost that everybody understands, instead of
And
this
talk-
like, bog water language that clearly is evasive. And
Yes.
it's not only is it evasive, like, it's insulting to all of the people who are fighting for their kids' lives every day. I take 2 to 3 calls every single day just here in Newfoundland of people who are fighting to save their kids with everything that they got. These parents are doing everything they possibly can. They are not
Mhm.
sleeping at night. I can't turn away from that, and nor should any one of our politicians. It's disgraceful that we have all of these different, NDPs and PCs and Liberals, and that they're not all joined and working together. They said that there was going to be an all-party committee here in Newfoundland when we had a rally when Ben died. And as far as I'm concerned, they may have met once or twice. I haven't seen one result in 7 months. 7 months! Like, how many people died in that 7 months? Last month alone in Newfoundland and Labrador, we had a record number of deaths. It is disgraceful. And I am watching the House of Assembly, and it's not a top priority. I'm going, what the hell? Who's getting paid out? Why isn't this a top priority? Why isn't this? We're talking about potholes and platitudes.
Right.
It's just, yeah, I
It-
just, this
My body.
show we're doing is the first step in turning this around. And I'm asking all of our citizens of Canada to speak up. Please speak up, because it's going to be your kid at some point in the very short future, if not someone in your family.
It's true. And we don't want it to be your family. Me and Tina have suffered. We can't tell you how much we've cried and suffered because of what happened to my brother, because of what happened to her son. And we don't want this to be a normal for families, that you're just going to talk about it like it's nothing. This is huge. This is everything. everything. And until we make changes, nothing is going to stop. So my Aunt Kim says clowns in Parliament every time I watch. The point is to insult people who question them, or to divert the answer, or to not answer at all. It is very insulting, says Tracy Spencer. And my aunt says cover-ups are more important than anything. Well, we sure know that, don't we? How many have Trudeau been through so far? They even have an RCMP pulled out. It was my cousin. I loved him dearly. Yeah. So this is a family member of yours that made that comment, Tina. So we don't have much time left because we're stopping at 45 minutes. We'll listen to our next stopping point, unless you want to go the full hour tonight.
Actually predict
We can
with
go the full hour.
more or less
Okay.
confidence that 600 or more Canadians will die of an opioid or a mixed drug overdose between now and the end of the year. And despite this having been recognized as an emergency 7 years ago, the death toll continues to be the same or to rise.
Yeah, right.
And when I was CMOH in the Yukon, we witnessed the first fentanyl death occurring in April 2016, the same month that British Columbia's chief public health officer at the time, Dr. Kendall, declared a public health emergency due to a shocking rise in deaths in that province. And that's continued to increase since. And since those earlier days of the epidemic, governments have responded. Many wonderful things have happened. Naloxone kits, for instance, are everywhere in our territory and widespread around the country.
Now, that's another problem I have. We got a couple more comments, but as far as naloxone kits, why should regular citizens have to train themselves and figure out how to use these naloxone kits? Because what if we do it wrong? What if they're having some other medical emergency and it wasn't a drug overdose? We're not trained in these things. How do we know when we're applying it to the right person in the right situation? This is just unfair for them to just hand them out to any citizen.
Yeah, the naloxone kits that are injectables, that they're quite complicated, and training people to use them. I can see that it's better than someone overdosing and right next to you. But the best solution would be, just the sniffer, and that's super easy. You don't have,
Yes.
but people won't get them because they're too expensive. Oh, what life and what is the value of a human life? Like people. No, it doesn't matter what it costs. If you can take a sniffer and sniff it up someone's nose and have them come back from a fentanyl overdose, and it costs twice as much, who gives a damn if it costs twice as much? Like, that person doesn't actually need to be trained to how to administer a needle and take it out of the package. Like, I've done the training and I do carry naloxone, but I'm scared to death if someone overdoses next to me. To actually fumble with all of that and get it right the first time, like it is confusing. And not only that, like you said, that's kind of a job that's a bit out of our capacity. And
Right,
on
so-
top, yeah, and on top of that, it's like, I want all that money to go to rehab and detox first
Yes.
and foremost. First and
Exactly.
foremost, not like, oh, we're all allowed to do drugs, take drugs, do drugs on the street. It's all okay. It's all kosher. Doesn't matter how many people die. And it doesn't matter the fact that it's illegal how it got here, right? It's illegal. It's an illegal substance. It's illegally got here in the mail. It illegally came into the country. It is illegal to traffic. Yet people have drugs. Like, how can we justify the fact that people have drugs when it's illegal that it's here? And then people justify it saying, well, you can't stop drugs, from coming into the country. Bullshit.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can.
Yes, you damn well can. You can put drug dogs on every border, in every marine port. You can close systems down. You can stop the corruption. You can stop the bribery. You can stop pharmaceutical companies from normalizing a drug epidemic, which is exactly what we've done. You can wake up the leadership in the country so they take this seriously and don't see it as status quo. This is not status quo.
No, it's not. So we got a few more comments here. So Tracy Spencer says she just spent the last week with a mother who lost her daughter 2 weeks ago here in Newfoundland. How heartbreaking. I'm so sorry for your friend. God love her.
Like,
Worst thing you
That
could go
just
through.
brings me to tears. And my good friend's only child died of a fentanyl overdose. That's the thing, right? That's what's happening.
Hmm. Imagine. And we need to be the change, or else this is going to be, we're all going to have these stories, and we need to stop it. So we got more comments. Yes, but the nasal are not even here in this town because they're so expensive. They're keeping it under wraps, you know? Yeah, Kim, how about
No,
when addicts?
That's an important point. Why don't we have nasals across the country? Why? Because this country is set up to enable drug use.
Right.
Every single thing from the Privacy Act to the
Mhm.
shelters that are drug dens to the drugs coming in. Like, wake up, people! How asleep do you have to be to not
Right.
see that every single system is designed to enable and facilitate the use of
Right.
drugs? What does that tell us? People who want that outcome, a drug society, are running the country, or it's corruption, or they're being bribed, or they're getting payoffs. But there is a reason why our country is this way. Make no mistake
Right.
about it. And it's time for the
Exactly.
moms, dads, and citizens who make up this country to say, this isn't happening anymore in our country. I don't give a damn who you are.
Exactly. And then there's this other side that I didn't even think about this. So how about when an addict, when you do bring them back from the naloxone or the spray, whichever you have, they can be pretty violent, which could be
can.
scary too, right?
They
So
can.
then there's that side of it. So you're going to help save somebody's life, and the next thing you know, your life's now in danger. How is that fair?
Yeah,
It's
that's
not.
actually that's actually a big, huge concern as well, for sure. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's so much going on. And not only that, all these fentanyl strips. I had someone call me the other day. He was about to use fentanyl. He
Mhm.
tested for fentanyl. It tested positive, and he did it anyway. People in addiction, even if they have fentanyl strips, which our taxpayers are paying for, you know, they're so addicted that they are going to take the fentanyl anyway in a majority of cases. Like, where's the data that says that fentanyl strips are preventing people in addiction from using drugs? Because that's not what I hear on the phone.
That's fake. That is what would Trump say? Fake news. That is fake news. So Roxanne Birdsell has a great comment here. So talking about it isn't resolution. As far as what we're doing, this is the start of how change happens. Acting on it is far more effective. Safe drug facilities are not useful in a crisis. Immediate detox, immediate rehab is the answer. So put the money into that instead of safe drug facilities. 100%, Roxanne. Then we've got Karina here with another. We are desensitized to this crisis, and we need to wake up. We need to stop being desensitized to this, because do you want to be riding a bus with somebody beside you smoking meth? Do you want to be at every concert, every time you go out in public, somebody just getting high beside you, and you got to explain? Your children are like, yeah, mom, I'm going to do that when I get older too. It looks like they're having a great time. Is that what we want? Really? No.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we'll get back into the video. It should not be happening. We're right up to date with the comments.
Yeah. Our video playing?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's playing all right in my own little studio here. Hold on. Oh my God. Thank you.
Days of the epidemic, governments have responded. Many wonderful things have happened. Naloxone kits, for instance, are everywhere in our territory and widespread around the country. We have had the first supervised consumption site in Yukon north of 60, including one of the first sites in the country with an inhalation room. We've scaled up efforts in treatment, in clinical opioid substitution, in harm reduction, and to some degree in prevention. The Yukon declared a substance use emergency in January 2022 and recently revised its substance use emergency health strategy just a few months ago, based on and growing on the 4-pillar approach that we all know so well. And yet the deaths go on, lives and families torn apart.
A plus B equals C. A plus B equals C. And the deaths go on because we're doing all these wonderful things that are making everything better. That's not the case. These are people like Ben, for example. When Ben was put on Suboxone as the be all end all cure to his opioid crisis. That happened without him ever having a psychiatric assessment. So it was given to someone without a psychiatric assessment with underlying bipolar disorder, having no idea how that Suboxone is going to interact with that underlying mental illness and anosognosia on top of it. Like, we're just a crapshoot here. It's like,
Yeah.
Ben tried to get into detox. No, you can't get into detox. You go over here and you take Suboxone. Well, I haven't had a psychiatric assessment. I have no idea. I'm taking a Suboxone with all these other drugs. I'm using Suboxone to get other types of drugs and selling it. Like, this is the stuff that's going on. And that's the reason why all of these death numbers are rising. Like, get with the program, people.
Yeah. So Roxanne, again, another great comment. Our police force and border crossing also need to be reevaluated. Secure the drugs getting into our country, secure drug dealers, drug houses, which are known to the public as well as the police. And it's true.
How many calls have I gotten? Trap house here, drug house here. Drugs are going out the window every 5 minutes. And I went to what the police said is that it takes about 2 years to build a case to bust someone for drugs. That's another indication of a policy failure at the judicial system that is exacerbating a drug crisis in the country. Like I said, all roads, privacy law, judicial system, all leads to drug use. We need to wake up to the fact that it's all designed. It didn't just happen this way. It's specifically designed to exacerbate a drug economy. And that's going to take our whole country down, because drugs will overtake the brain. What does a country do with everybody wasted out of their mind and no brain? No capacity, no production, no workforce. It's already taking out our trades workforce. Like, the writing is on the wall, people. If we don't start building a culture of recovery, sober cities, we're doomed.
We are. Well, listen, next point.
Or injuries. We've done so much, yet the scale of our response has not yet matched the need.
No.
So as we take on the study, I plead all committee members around the table to have one aim, one single aim in mind. I know I'll be thinking of my own 2 teenagers and their friends and what more we can do to protect them. So let this be about saving Canadians' lives. Let's not have this about personal attacks or takedowns or scoring political points. And let's take a hard look at what is working, at what is not working. And if something is not working, let us examine why, learn, and adapt.
Yeah, it would be great if we're actually doing that. I mean, this crisis emergency was announced 7 years ago from BC. They're not reacting. They're not collaborating as parties.
No.
And they're not, they had 7 years to get it right and mitigate all of these deaths. And that hasn't happened. So the proof is in the pudding.
It is. They've definitely done nothing.
To my colleague, Dr. Ellis, an experiment is taking really a word for taking a new approach. To your question about a null hypothesis, I think we could answer that the current model that we have is clearly not working. And so we need to take new directions. So let us look at models of
If he's one person actually telling the truth, what we're doing is not working. Thank God we have one person saying the truth.
Well, this fella here is a doctor, and Stephen Ellis is a doctor. The doctors literally have seen what has failed. Complete failure. And the doctors are now finally stepping up.
It's not making any difference with the doctor running our province. That's for sure.
Well, we need to make sure that we keep shows like what we have going on and keep the momentum going so that people share this. The main thing, guys, is you need to share it. Yes, not everybody's going to watch it, but if we can get more people exposed and aware that people are speaking out about it, this little old lady, grandma here, raising my granddaughter in Cape Breton. You got Tina over there in St. John's, Newfoundland. She's fighting because she lost her son. We all have a reason to do what we're doing, and we need to share it because we don't want to have more of this epidemic getting worse.
Innovation and success that have shown promise or have shown to work, either within our country or elsewhere. Let us be able to come up at the end of this study with urgent, thoughtful, evidence-based, compassionate, bold and intelligent recommendations as
Now, I'd like to know if this study has been completed and how long is it going to take them and how much money is it going to be to make this study happen? So let me write this down and see if we can find.
You're saying that it was completed in 2023 and is being implemented according to, you know, the Department of Health. But like, I don't, obviously, if numbers are going up, A plus B equals C, it's not working.
No. And he even said that it's not working. So what study are they talking about? If they know that they have a plan that's failed and they need a new plan, where have they implemented or even come up with a structure to change this failing infrastructure in place now with this safe supply and harm reduction? They're
Right.
nothing but harm
Now
reduction.
now that the word experiment is in question, they're
Mm.
going to change that to study, or they're going to change it to another less,
Mhm.
accountable word.
Yeah, another way to funnel money somewhere else to one of their friends.
to what all of us can do to get this epidemic under control as individuals, as communities, as governments at all levels. Now, I know that each one of us cares. So please, for the sake of Canadians, let's work together on this with respect, with humility, with urgency, and with the decency that Canadians expect of us. So I know I have only about 2 minutes left, but I'd like to just bring back my questions. And Ms. Sachs, and thank you all of you for being here. Budget 2023 proposes to add an additional $359 million over 5 years to support a renewed strategy. And
Can you imagine $359 million in renewed strategies in 2023? What did that
Yeah.
money go to? How many organizations got that money? And just, how many people died because those organizations got that money and it didn't go to rehab or to mental health or to detox?
Yeah, all this money should be going to rehab and detox.
All the really high-end drug programs, they work because they've got all the right structures in place, but they cost a fortune. Maybe if we had something like that was publicly funded.
AA and the NA don't cut a fortune, and they certainly don't say, come on in and bring your Coke with you on the way,
Yeah.
and we'll
Right.
supervise your injections while you're
Yeah.
here doing a 12-step program. Like, come on, folks.
Exactly.
Come on.
Tracy Spencer says, I'd like to know how the hell it got so bad in a small province like ours. Exactly. In Atlantic Canada, our populations are small, all the provinces. And how it got this way is because they've got organizations that got their hands out, ready to help with the problem. But all they're doing is just keeping people on drugs high. And that is definitely destroying every one of our communities. And then another Facebook user, especially living on an island, Tracy, it either gets here by air or by boat. Yeah. Or in Cape Breton's case, by road. That causeway.
Or by mail. Like, everyone I'm
Yeah.
talking to, they're getting it in the mail. Like, what the heck is Canada Post doing, allowing illicit drugs through the mail? Like, it's
Mhm.
people are calling me saying, I just got my shipment in, but it's only for personal use, and they're getting it on the market. Like, it's beyond me.
It is. So we've just got 2 minutes left. We can either wrap it up with conversation, invite people to share the video, and invite you to tell us your story.
Like,
Go ahead.
that's what I'd like to do, is make an appeal to the parents and the family members who have loved ones who really feel that it's important to share this conversation. Share it on your Facebook. Make sure that we have the exponential communication channels in place, because when you share it with 100 friends, they have 100 friends. Like, this is the way we're going to get the word out. We don't have big news channels. We're not, CBC funded by our taxpayers. All we have is ourselves as concerned citizens across Canada who are really wanting to turn this around. Let's use social media. Let's talk the truth about what's coming up. Tell us your stories. Get in touch with us. Send us your comments. Tell the truth. Speak up every chance you get, because you and we, parents, mothers of these children, fathers of these children, are the only ones who are going to turn this thing around.
Exactly. Without you, And without us doing this show and sharing it and getting all of this information out there, we're going to be stuck in the same situation. Nothing will change. And we all know we're desperate for change. On that note, guys, thank you so much for your comments, all your concerns, for joining and staying on the show this evening. Thank you for sharing the program. You have a great evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Part 3.
Exactly. Part 3 tomorrow at 7
Over
o'clock.
now. Over now.
Bye,
Good night, everyone.